Lucky Shot brings you this episode of the QA. Might be a little too much. Let's go with something. There we go. It is the end of the month, which means it is time for the QA, and this is the January 2021 edition. So it's the first QA of the new year. And before we get started, I got a January dad joke for you. If January threw a parade, would February march? No, but April may. That's all I got. That was one of the better January dad jokes I could find. So feel free to use that, dads out there. Got some good questions. Got a few comments, got a few messages, things like that I'm going to keep off the show. But obviously, right now, it is an interesting time. I mean, 2020 was interesting for its own reasons, and now end of 2021, January 2021. Obviously, a lot's happened in January, and there's a lot of people that are asking me all sorts of questions about preparedness, about what my thoughts are. And I will say this, control what you can control. Try to spread a little joy and kindness in those that are in your inner circle. Maybe that'll be like another off-topic conversation. Obviously, there's a lot of division. There's a lot of angst. There's a lot of emotion going on. There's a lot of things going on that are causing a lot of people to be stressed and to be challenged and to be frustrated. And I totally get it. No matter what side you're on, if you look at perception, it's an interesting time. And we thought 2021, man, we could finally breathe a little sigh of relief that 2020 is behind us, and now 2021 is shaping up to be an interesting year. So I would just try to encourage you, focus on the positive, focus on what you can control, focus on what truly does impact you, your life, your loved ones, again, that inner circle, and just try to take it day by day and look for the positive. So that's kind of my little spiel on that, some of the comments and all that stuff that I've been receiving regarding, what I think of the year and things like that. I do have to be a little cautious. Believe it or not, I don't have freedom of speech because of my day job. I do have policies and things like that prevent me from truly speaking my opinion, as unfortunately it can be used against me. So I do have to be a little cautious. So before we get into our questions, if you want to see your question get on the show, the best way is to email us. That email address is shown below. It is theqa@gunsandtactics.com. At the end of the month, we answer your questions, and of course we give away a prize thanks to our sponsor, Lucky Shot. More on them in a little bit. But I do want to see your questions. Again, the best way is to email us. I try to read and review all the comments, but email, please. I will do my best. Also, starting this year moving forward, we do have some rules. Those rules will be posted on the screen once we get to the prize time. But basically, the gist of it is we're trying to spread the wealth. So one winner per 12-month period, and you have a limited time to get in contact with us or respond, so we don't have to hold the prize forever, and things are subject to change as the sponsors have inventory that comes and goes. So please be patient. That's just it. Just don't be a jerk. Be patient. That's all we can ask. Now, real quick, we'll do a little comment cleanup on the last QA. Real quick, we had some great comments about special guests and Bill. We could probably make that happen. I think we could come up with a range day or something like that. And always, we do appreciate the kindness. I really do. Some compliments and stuff, which is always awesome. So I do appreciate that. There was one question on the comments, and that was from Thomas. What's your opinion on 357 SIG and 40 Smith & Wesson for pistol and 6.5 Grendel for rifle? And here's, I guess, my thoughts with that. When it comes to handgun, I'm pretty much narrowed down to two calibers for my semi-auto guns, and that is 9 and 45. 9 is cheap. It used to be plentiful and reasonably priced. Obviously, right now, everything is just crazy. And then 45, if I do need something a little larger, or a classic 1911 should be in everybody's collection. So I have 9 and 45, and I've pretty much gotten rid of everything. I've gotten rid of everything else. I do have some 22s, obviously, of course. But for center fire, 9, 45. 357 SIG and 40, yes, do they have more ballistic capability than 9mm? They do, but the reality is on realistic gel testing, ammunition testing protocols, the performance isn't that much that, in my opinion, it's worth the trade-off of lower capacity, higher ammo cost, higher felt recoil, tougher to find ammo. So yes, there are great self-defense rounds available in those two calibers, but 9mm is a solid, proven performer, as is 45. And then as far as 6.5 Grendel for rifle, I never got into the Grendel. I'm not saying anything bad about it. Again, right now I try to kind of streamline calibers so I don't have to have like a ton of different stuff in stock if I want to go shoot something. So I have 223, 308. I do have an AK-47, or excuse me, AK-74, so I do have some 5.45 laying around. Not really mainstream, that's just generally the AK that I have and shoot and train with. 300 Blackout, I do have sub and supersonic, so you can do, you know, a little bit of versatility hunting, things like that. And then for precision rifles, I either have 308 or 6.5 Creedmoor. So that's kind of my rifle catalog. The one that really does interest me though right now is the 6mm ARC, and that is a new cartridge that was introduced last year by Hornady. I think it has a lot of potential both in semi-autos, as it will fit in a small frame AR, as well as in bolt action guns, because it is a short action round. And I think that is in some ways what the Grendel, the 6.8s and things like that, you know, could be, whatever, but it's still young. It's very early in its infancy stages that I don't know, number one, how ballistically it's going to perform long term, what is going to be developed for it, what guns are going to come chambered in it, barrel accuracy, all sorts of stuff. One of my favorite manufacturers has basically said, hey, we're not on the 6 ARC yet because it doesn't quite perform how we want it to perform with all of the rounds that are available. It performs really good with this one, but then we make a different barrel and it performs really good with this one, but not that one, type thing. So I do think 6 ARC has some potential, but I thought that about the 224 Valkyrie, and now I'm more interested in the 6 ARC. So that's kind of my thoughts on that question. So thank you very much for the question there. All right, hopping back to our submitted questions via email. This is from Chris. We're all familiar with the ongoing never-ending debate 223 and 5.56 NATO. Does the same debate exist between 308 Win and 7.62 NATO? They are separate chambers. However, like the 223 5.56 debate, you can shoot 223 in a 5.56, however, you shouldn't shoot 5.56 in a 223, and with a 308 7.62, it's actually kind of the opposite. 308 Win is the more common chamber, and you actually can shoot 7.62 in it. However, in some of the chambered guns that are truly 7.62 NATO, you are not recommended to shoot 308 in that. So most everything is coming with a 308 chamber. That's from AR-10s, precision rifles. The only stuff that I'm still coming across that maybe has that true 7.62 NATO chambers, like some older surplus type stuff, but even like a lot of the reproduction, newer production, like M14s, for example, they have a 308 chamber. So that is that. So technically, yes, but 308 is by far the predominant chamber with that. So something to be aware of if you're purchasing surplus ammo or anything like that. Keep in mind, some of that cheap surplus ammo could be bimetallic, so it could be a little harder on your gun, on your barrel. And then if you are interested in reloading, some of the brass is actually not reloadable. It has, I can't remember the name of the primer pocket, but instead of having a straight through hole to push out the primer, it has like this weird two like moon shaped things, and unfortunately it's harder to push a primer out. I've heard of some conversion bits and stuff, but not all brass is reloadable, especially some of that surplus stuff. So something to keep in mind there. Derek has a bunch of questions. Derek, you're only gonna get entered once, okay? So I have you as like, your number email 2, but then we have A, B, and C, so you're not going to get entered like a gazillion times. Favorite trigger and why? I guess if I was talking about rifle, it would be the Geissele SSAE for ARs. I just like the 2-stage trigger. It works out really slick. Single-stage triggers, I like JP, I like Hyperfire. Those are probably my favorite triggers going right now. Glock trigger, I just like a solid factory trigger with maybe a minus connector. A little bit of cleaning up there. Otherwise, the Steel City Armory, or Steel City Arsenal, I can't remember the exact company name. Their flat face trigger so far is impressing me. I don't have maybe 2,000-3,000 rounds through my training pistol with that, and I like it, but I want to give it a little bit more time. Otherwise, if you're talking about like precision rifle, I like a quality 2-stage trigger. Right now I'm running the Geissele Super 700, did a review on that in my precision rifles. I do want to try a Bixen Andy 2-stage as well. There's all sorts of stuff I want to try. Trigger Tech, Bixen Andy, there's, yeah, all sorts of cool stuff. So that would be, hopefully that covers that. If you could only have 5 guns, what would they be and why? That might be another video in and of itself. I feel like I could spend 10 minutes talking about the 5 guns, even if I just talked 2 minutes a piece. But basically, short version is I would have some sort of precision rifle, like a bolt gun. I would have a large frame AR, battle rifle type gun, a 308, a dual 3 or AR like a 5.56. And then I would probably have a pistol, good quality handgun, full-size handgun like a 9mm, and then I think everybody needs a 22. So those would be my 5 guns, and maybe we'll talk more about that. But that might be a good idea if I could only pick 5. I think there's another channel that does like the pick 5 type stuff, but I like it. Do you have any tips on how to teach someone who's never shot a firearm? Again, that could be a whole nother video. The short version is patience. And don't be afraid to ask for help, especially if it's someone that you know you have a relationship with. I've seen a lot of husbands really get frustrated when they're trying to teach their wife or significant other or whatever, because sometimes it's better to get a stranger's or an outsider's perspective. So patience, 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 and then try to find commonality. So for example, I remember I was teaching a class a few years ago and I had a student that was really struggling with stance. And they were really struggling to get that good, solid stance. So we found some commonality. I got some information from them. Hey, what sports did you play, or what activities do you like? And they replied they used to really enjoy tennis. I said, perfect. So let's think about this. Pretend like you are going to have to move over here to return a serve. How would you stand if you were playing tennis? And then we just simply kind of adapted that tennis stance to a shooting stance. So try to find commonality, try to be approachable, try to have good rapport, relate to your student, and have patience. What do you like about teaching classes? That is a great question. I'll spend a little bit longer, but I don't want to make this episode too ridiculously long. But my biggest thing about teaching classes is truly just sharing knowledge. I have a passion for sharing knowledge. I have a passion for seeing shooters improve. Or right now, I'm doing a lot of instructor level courses, which I don't like that term, but it is what it is, because I think a lot of classes that are instructor level are not really anything different than other classes. And here's my other pet peeve for the instructors out there. If you're that instructor who says, I only go to instructor level courses, you have a closed mind. You need to broaden your horizon. Every class you go to as an instructor is an instructor class, because you're hopefully dissecting what they're teaching, how they're teaching it. You're getting different nuggets. You're figuring out, okay, that might work really well for me, or that might not work for me, but yeah, that's a really good nugget, and I can apply it to when I teach somebody else, because that would work really well for them. So every class you go to, if you're truly an instructor or a teacher, every class you go to, you can be gaining from, you can be learning from, you can be bettering yourself from, whether it's sharpening your own skills, getting ideas, making sure you're staying current, validating things. And the company that I'm going to be working for this year, I've already started, is 88 Tactical. Not giving a shameless plug here, but one of the things that really helped me get on board with 88 is Trevor Thrasher. He's the training director. And Aaron, he's the manager. Super good dudes. I have a lot of respect for them. But what I really love is their training philosophies. They back up everything with real world data, and they dissect things, and they ask why, and they want to learn more, and they have criteria for evaluating tactics. They have criteria for evaluating techniques, validating training, and all of that stuff like just aligns with the nerd in me of like saying, yes, that, oh, my dogs are barking. It just aligns with my values of trying to figure out, hey, why are we teaching this tactic? Why are we using this technique? Because it's not realistic, or I would never use this on the street, but yet it works really well on the range. And with 88, we are so focused on reality-based, behavior-based, and it is just so refreshing. And again, my training values really, really aligned well with those, and vice versa. So when I was brought on board, I was super excited to join the team, and I'm super excited to be a part of it because our training values align. But back to your question, what do I really enjoy? I really enjoy seeing when shooters get better, they feel more confident, they're able to perform at a higher level, they get more efficient, they get more proficient. And then now that I'm teaching more instructors, I'm giving them tools to teach. I'm giving them tools to better themselves as an instructor, so that when they go back to their agency or their group, they feel prepared, they feel knowledgeable, they feel confident, and they understand the material, and they have that instructor craft philosophy. That's a Dave Tim term, instructor craft. You've heard it here first. But they have that instructor craft philosophy of bettering themselves and applying critical thought and applying a true like dissection of tactics and techniques to figure out what's realistic and how would we actually perform and why aren't we teaching for that. So all sorts of stuff. That's what I really, really enjoy, especially on the instructor level type stuff. I just really enjoy helping people get better at sharing their knowledge to their students and their peers. So that's what really excites me. So that was probably a little long, but you asked, so there it is. This first gun, a little bit hesitant. Basically, it's a 14.5 inch with a mid-length gas system. It's currently shooting 3 o'clock-ish with 55 grain. He's using an H1 buffer. He feels that the recoil is a little harsher, looking to soften it up, but keep about that 3 o'clock. And then he sent a video. I'm not going to show the video because I'm not sure if you want that video shared or not, but basically it shows kind of that 3 o'clock. Now, as far as felt recoil, it might just be how that gun cycles. Keep in mind, if you do add a heavier buffer, like an H2, you do have more mass going back and forth. So even though it might soften up the recoil or slow the cyclic rate a little bit, you actually could still get some increased in felt recoil because you have more mass going back and forth. So you could certainly try it and see if it feels better, but keep in mind, it also might get to the point of the opposite effect because we're adding so much mass. You can feel that mass moving back and forth as well. So it could be that the gun's overgassed. You could look at an adjustable gas block. You could try the buffer. You could try a spring solution. You could try something like a JP silent captured spring, which gives you a lot of tunability and in my opinion does a nice job with helping manage felt recoil. Or you could look at a muzzle device to reduce felt recoil. Keep in mind with a muzzle device, the ones that are really effective at reducing recoil are also really obnoxious. They have a lot of concussion and blast around you. So shooting indoors really sucks with them. People shooting next to you can kind of complain and not be your friend, but some things to consider. Otherwise, you know, with a little technique, good forward stance, aggressive grip, handling, pulling the gun in, you can really manage that recoil well. And with a little bit of time behind it too. So that's what I would kind of look at. I don't know what size gas port is the barrel has, but like I said, it could be gassed a little high, so you could look at that adjustable gas block and that would give you some tunability. Good quality gas blocks out there. SLR, Century makes a great one. The Cyrac, I think I can't remember that exact name, but they make a good gas block as well. JP makes a good gas block. There's a few out there that I'm sure I'm forgetting that are good quality gas blocks that work really well. Actually, the Seekins is another great one as well because it has that little lever. I actually use that on a few builds and it works out nice. So those are different options for you. Before we answer the rest of the questions, let's give a thank you to Lucky Shot. Lucky Shot is helping us out by providing the prize for this month, and they make some really cool glassware and gift items for the shooter in your life, or maybe a nice gift for yourself. Head on over to their webpage to check out all of the cool stuff that they offer. Everything is safe, has bullets in it for that great conversation piece and decor, plus it makes a nice handle for your glassware. But anyways, they have all sorts of cool stuff. The shooters and firearms enthusiasts in your life will absolutely love it. Or don't be afraid to get something for yourself. Use the coupon code on your screen to save yourself a little bit of money as well on your order, and they will take great care of you. Again, thank you to Lucky Shot for sponsoring this episode, and I encourage you to pick up some glassware or gift items from them for you, yourself, or anyone that you think would appreciate a cool gift like this. Back to it, this one is from Bob. Bob enjoys videos, thank you very much. And he read an article on the degradation of ammo when it's stored at high temps, such as in a vehicle. So his question is, storing ammo in temps above 100 causes deterrent migration in the powder, which could lead to excessive chamber pressures. Yes. And in your experience, how does law enforcement handle that? Is it regularly rotated out or some other procedure? And the answer is a true best practice is your duty ammo should be regularly rotated out. So what we do in my agency is once a year, we shoot our current duty ammunition as part of our training in qual, and then we are reissued new ammunition. And yes, temperature can make a big difference. I know some precision rifle shooters who have very specific data on their performance of their rifle in 10-degree increments, because sometimes they'll go to a match, they'll wake up, it's like 40, 50 degrees, and then when the sun comes out, gets hot, later that day it's like 70, 80 degrees, sometimes even more of a drastic change, and they do notice ballistic differences based on that powder temperature. Now, inside of a patrol car, for example, or if you have like the truck gun thing, which I have my caveats about, sometimes on a hot summer day, if you have a dark colored vehicle or whatever, inside that passenger compartment can get super hot, like well over 100 degrees, and yes, can that have an effect on the powder? Absolutely. So I would highly recommend, if you are storing ammo in those type of environments, that you do rotate it out regularly, annually. That's like a really, really good practice. Now, I know ammo is tough to get right now, especially self-defense or personal protection type ammo, so you may want to be a little bit more cautious with how you're storing it. but that is something to definitely keep in mind. Now, I do have another video coming up kind of on this topic that I get a lot is how long can I store magazines full of ammunition and they're still reliable, or that kind of thing. And the funny thing is, I don't know if it's here, but I actually found some mags that were loaded probably 15 years ago at least. They were in like an old go bag when I used to have like the go bag philosophy. And 15 years ago, I remember loading these mags, and then I threw them somewhere, and then I was actually just kind of unpacking and I found them. So we're going to talk about that, and I have a video coming up on those to see, does spring compression set affect reliability, things like that. So keep an eye out for that video as well. But then maybe we'll do another ballistics video. I'll see if I can get a special guest to kind of talk about some of that stuff, and that might be a really good one that we can kind of talk about cold and hot effects of ammunition, long-term storage, things like that. I think that'd be a cool video idea. Ammunition manufacturers generally always recommend you to store your ammunition in a cool, dry environment. I know some people store it in ammo cans and they'll put some silica gel in. You can use instant rice, something like that to kind of make your own. Otherwise, if you have a place that's cool and dry to store it, that is always great. So try to look for the humidity and temperature swings. And even in my shop, I try to keep weather, and humidity and temperature steady because, ammunition storage is an issue. Now, that being said, I have some ammunition that literally is like decades old. I have some surplus ammo from the 50s, like 5.45 surplus and stuff. And knock on wood, every time I've taken it out, I haven't had an issue. So ammunition can be pretty durable, but again, you want to make sure you're storing it properly. Great question, Bob. This one is from Johnny. What happened to Ascend Armory? Any insight on their whole situation? I don't have a ton. Okay, I have a little bit of insider info that I don't feel comfortable sharing, but I will say this. They made one heck of a cool product. However, they definitely had their struggles. The owner had some health issues. The company had some business issues. It's just as far as like management, logistics, stuff like that. And ultimately, the owner sold the machine shop and I believe sold most of the CAD to Legion. I think it's Legion Precision who is making the receiver set now. Now, I don't know if they bought all the designs. I don't know if they bought the tooling, programming, that kind of stuff to go with it. But I know Legion is hoping to come out with their receiver sets that are the Ascend design, but I believe it's just the original. It's not the new lightweight one that was shown a couple of years ago, which never really made it to production. But yeah, Ascend made some of the nicest receiver sets I've seen. I'm very fortunate to have a receiver set. It's kind of one of my unicorn possessions now. I'll probably never get rid of it because it is a really cool receiver set. It's really nice. But yeah, it's just kind of a bummer. And sometimes in the industry that goes, like some of these smaller specialized manufacturers, they kind of struggle to get mainstream adoption and get the sales and get that funding and all that other stuff. But then once they do have, a really good product, even then, sometimes businesses can be tough to run. And I think that was the case here. So I do know of another company that's going to be making some pretty cool stuff that I'm hoping to have some more information to share in the next few months that I think you might like if you liked Ascend Armory receiver sets. And I know the people behind that project. Very passionate. I just don't know where they're at with like production and realistic delivery and stuff, but I think there's some cool stuff to come. So keep an eye out for that. And of course, I'll try to get first look videos and stuff out as cool things come up. This last question is from Kevin, and this is a very worded email, and I super appreciate the detailed info. But basically, Kevin is asking about a new police officer who's a smaller statured officer. She's 5'1", but she really is committed to carrying a full-size SIG P226 double-action, single-action handgun, and has some struggles with it. Basically, reaching the trigger was a struggle, as well as just kind of recoil management, things like that. So he was asking for advice. So I will say, I won't get into a ton. Maybe I'll reach out on a one-on-one and give you some more feedback. I get it. You could look at seeing if the reduced grip from SIG is an option. I can't remember if they call it the E grip or the E2 grip. I believe a SIG could be converted so it would have a smaller grip module like the newer SIG 226s. Something to look into. Yeah, as far as modifying her draw to having to cock the hammer, obviously that's not optimal. Does it work for her? Sure, but is it going to slow things down? Is it one more step? Is it repeatable? Is it reliable technique? You're going to have to really make sure that she is training like heck to do that. Do I agree that she would probably be better served with a smaller handgun? Absolutely. You said, having her try a 320 or a 17 or HK Walther, whatever. Yeah, I would love to see her try like a 19 or a 320 with a smaller module, or the Walthers, things like that, HK, just because it would give her much more ergonomic tune with the gun. I don't even know if that's a term, ergonomic tune. She would be much more in tune ergonomically with the gun to better manage recoil and control the firearm. But it sounds like there's some sentimental value with that gun, and I get that sometimes cops particularly get attached to things, and the reality is it's just stuff. You can't get attached to it because all of it could be taken away in a second when it's held for evidence. So I get that some of the officers say she needs to learn the hard way. I totally understand all that, but yet at the same time, we want her to be successful. We want her to be confident because she's going to be your partner, serving your community. So I would just keep trying to work with her, try to find someone that builds rapport with her, that she respects as like a mentor, and see if they might be able to get her hey, just give it a try. It's no disrespect to your family, to the firearm or anything like that. It's just that some things might fit you better. And it might just simply be to having to remind her that you don't wear the same size clothes as your father, which was a legacy program. You don't wear the same boots. It's okay to be your own individual. And maybe there's something else that you could find that has significance. Maybe it's a pair of handcuffs. Maybe it's a badge number. Maybe it's a name tag or something like that that could still give her that sentimental connection that she's trying to follow the footsteps of her father, but yet using equipment that works best for her. And maybe her father might be the one to just say, hey, kiddo, that gun just is not for you. You know, you can't perform with it or whatever. And I don't know if that's a situation that would be addressed or not. But man, it's a tough situation. Hopefully that helps a little. And I'm going to try to reach out and maybe see if we can talk one-on-one over the phone and kind of just share some thoughts. So that's a really good question and a situation that I can appreciate. Other questions that have been coming up lately in some of the boards and forums and stuff that I participate in is LPVO use, because we just had a very publicized officer-involved shooting that was out of Phoenix, where they had an officer-involved shooting using a rifle with an LPVO. I've been using LPVOs for over 10 years and on patrol, and I was using them before they were cool to be used. And in fact, I would show up to a class and people would make fun of me for using them. But they are here. They're not the future. It's here, and they were here. The perfect LPVO still doesn't exist, but maybe you can do some more LPVO content if you guys are interested in that. And then I'll also be doing some more training content with reduced ammo. We're in that time now where ammo's tough to get. Trigger time is still important. So what I did, because I'm teaching red dot sight classes, I also modified my SIRT gun to accept a red dot sight. So that way when I train with my SIRT gun, I'm training with a red dot. I do still love the Hollow Suns. I also do have a 17R, which is the Glock resetting one that I'm going to be able to use for manipulation, training, teaching, all that stuff. And I'm also going to mill that so it can accept a red dot, because I do believe it's important to train like you play. And right now, I'm pretty much running red dots on my handguns, both off-duty and on-duty, pretty much exclusively, and I want to make sure I have training tools to help reinforce those skills. And it's important with dry fire and stuff like that to have a tool that mimics that. Now, if you don't have the money to put a high-end red dot on all of your training tools, I'm also going to be looking at to see if some of the airsoft clone red dots are an acceptable training tool. Now, would I put one on a carry gun or a duty gun? Absolutely not. But for a training gun, I'm also going to look to see if there's inexpensive options that can help with that. So something to consider, but definitely something to think about. Now, one of the things to think about too, if you're an agency looking to transition, or maybe you already have, is your training tools, your force-on-force tools. They all should have red dots as well. I just did a class for a department, and great class, great group of shooters. If any of you guys watch this, I super love training with you and your instructor group. Had a great time down there. But one of the things that got brought up was, man, we do have to convert our SIRT guns or our SIM guns because we're doing red dots agency-wide. You need to have the other tools. So I just milled this SIRT gun to accept MOS plates, and I was able to, put then whatever optic I want. So I'm going to be converting the 17R. I'm going to mill that for an MOS plate pocket as well. And I'm fortunate, I have a milling machine, so I can just do that myself, but it's something that I think is important. So that'll do it for the questions. Again, if you want to see your question get on the show, the best way is to email me. The email address is shown below, the QA@gunsandtactics.com. You can also sound off in the comment section. I do love reading and interacting comments. I do appreciate it. Best way, though, to get your question on the show is to email us. Before we give away our prize, I'm going to go ahead and put the rules up on the screen in just a second. If you want the official rules, make sure you pause the screen, review them to make sure you're in compliance with the rules. And if you have any questions, you can go ahead and reach out to us. Now that you've checked out the rules, let's pick our prize winner. Random number generator, and random number is 3, which is Adrian. Adrian had a question about his cycling and he sent in the video. So Adrian, congratulations to you. We will be in touch to get you your prize, again, thanks to Lucky Shot. That'll do it for this episode. Again, guys, email us with any questions. You can leave comments, stuff like that. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe. That means a lot to us. We're trying to get our numbers to grow so we can do cooler and bigger and better and awesomer things, and we'll go from there. So please like, share, subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day. We work really hard to make content that we hope you as a shooter would enjoy. Subscribe to our channel, check out our featured videos and playlists, and if you have a question firearms related, go ahead and send an email to the address shown on the screen to be entered into our monthly QA series.